The last step for me to do in my journal is to put in my signatures. And this is my journal for 23-24, and here are my journals, my signatures for 2023, and this is 2024. And yes, it's not finished, but we're gonna deal with that while it's in the book. Okay. So the first thing I need to do, I have 2 signatures. So the first thing I have to do is I have to mark on my spine where I want to attach my signatures. You know, I'm going to put holes in my spine. Okay, so it's kind of a narrow little spine, but the first thing I have done, one thing we cannot forget, is I have made a template just out of a piece of the same catalog. I think this was the cover of the catalog. But I measured it to be the same height as my signatures on my pages. I cut it to that height. And then I folded it in half to find the center point. And then I folded each end up about 1 inch to find a point, top and bottom, equidistant from center. So I'm going to make 3 holes. I think Natasha calls this a 3-hole pamphlet stitch. Not sure, something like that. Okay, I could put more holes. I could maybe put 5. It was something this big. I could put another hole here and another hole here. Except because this is already sewn into a book, it has a lot of holes already in there, and I didn't want to make any more holes than was necessary because I don't want to, you know, compromise the integrity of the signature. Okay, so anyway, I have these 3, and first I'm going to make them on the pamphlet. I mean on my spine, and I'm going to do it from the outside. From the inside, you could do it from the inside, but I'm not going to be able to see that very well. And here I can really see where the spine, you know, the places where the spine folds, the fold marks. So I want them on this part. Okay, so I'm going to put this matching the top and the bottom, and I'm going to just kind of estimate, you know, from, I could measure, but since it's so small, I really can't measure very accurately. I'm not that good, so I'm going to do the one on this side first, making sure this is nice and straight, making sure that it's about, remembering that the cover is a little bit taller than the signature, so I want to make it equidistant. And I'm just going to take my pencil and make like a little mark where I have marked these fold points, so I can reference that in a minute. And then I'm going to move it over beside, and I'm going to put it on the, I'm going to actually put it on the edge of my signature here, I mean of my spine, because I want to make sure that I get them, I want to keep them straight across if I can. I'm not really measuring, but I want to keep this line straight. And I want to have this about as far from here to here as here to here. This distance and this distance, as much as I can, make it straight. And I will put an indent there. And again down here, I will put an indent here. And I will put an indent here. Okay. Now I'm just going to look at that and see what that looks like. And it looks, I can see my dots. I don't know if you can see the dots in here. I'm doing this, it's kind of dark in here now, but they look pretty straight to me. So I'm going to use my old catalog here to protect my table, and I'm going to take my awl, and I'm going to just go down through these. I want to go through the book, clear through the book, but at least make the hole, and then I can go back and make it bigger, like I did before, like a pilot hole. So I'm going to make one there, and beside it, because I have 2 signatures, so I need 2 rows of holes. I want to make sure I'm on the book. Don't want to mess up my table. Okay, now I don't know if you can see the holes, but they look pretty straight to me. And then I'm just going to go and make sure the hole is going through properly. Make sure it goes the whole way down. And I'm going to do the side. It's actually really easy to do. I don't want you to think it's hard. So there I go. There's my 6 holes. Look pretty good. They look pretty good. And then I'm going to go into my signatures one at a time. I'm going to start with the one in the back, which would be 2024. That was in the back. So I'm going to go into the center of it. Right here. And this is a pretty thick signature, so this is a pretty thick book because this is in progress. And I'm going to take it first and I'm going to mark using the same template I use on the top. And this time it is, it should be exactly top and bottom. I decided to add a new little clip in this video that shows a little clearer picture of how to mark my signatures for sewing them into my journals. I've already showed you how I use the template to mark the spine of the journal, to mark the holes for the spine. I'm going to be using that same spine, of course, to match up the pages on the signatures, which I did but it was a little hard to see. I had a little my video was a little compromised by a couple things. I had little technical issues, plus my let's just say the environment where I was shooting was a little challenged, as it was feeding time here at the zoo, and there was a lot of tap dancing on the hardwood floor and a lot of bell clanging of tags on metal dishes. So as they were eating, it was a little noisy and irritating and hard to follow. But also, it's hard to get a good camera angle for you. This is not what I normally do, and I'm not in my normal setup. And so anyway, I thought I could show you here with just a simple process. It's very simple, but I want to show you how I do. Again, these are blank pages that I have harvested from my journals. I have quite a few, and I'm going to be using them again. I'm going to be doing another journal. My next journal that I'm going to be doing, of course, is going to be for my tarot spreads, which I will talk to you about a little bit later in this video. But I thought I would just start and mark a signature for you. Again, I'll use the journal here to, I just have, what do I have here, 10 pages or places that need erased here. But that's fine. That'll be my problem when I go to do it. But anyway, I want to make sure that my pages are really lined up nice and straight, as even as they can be. I think I have 10 sheets of paper in here, which gives me 40 pages, 40 sides. You know, each page has 4 sides to it. I think for the side journals we have 10 or 12 pages is good for a signature. Maybe I'll make it 12, just because I'm going to be sewing things into it. I mean, probably pasting things on the paper, adding papers, or adding pockets to the journal, whatever. So, but anyway, right now I'm just going to show you the process. I remember we're using stitches. We're only going to use a three-hole pamphlet stitch because we already have all these holes, and I didn't want to, you know, every hole we add compromises the page just a little bit. So, but I can do 3 pretty easy. But anyway, I use this template this way so that I could lay it on here, this being the top, and mark my holes. Mark my holes. Okay. Now, in order to mark my pages, my signatures for corresponding holes, I'm going to fold it in half this way so that the marks are on the inside. And I'm going to open my signature here, how many pages I have, making sure I'm at the center. And I'm going to put that in as snug as I can. And ordinarily, I think if you're going to use a lot of these, you would make this out of a little harder, maybe a piece of cardstock or whatever. This is just the cover page of this flimsy catalog junk mail, which I had handy. But normally I would use something a little sturdier, because then I'm going to take my awl carefully and I'm going to use the marks that I made on the paper, and I'm going to making sure the edges are even, because I want this signature to be the same, holes in the same place as the other signatures that are in the same book. Okay, so that's why it's important to get it all lined up. And then I'm going to just take my awl and poke a hole through. Poke a hole through to the back. So I can see it coming out. And then all three. And then you can see that all coming through. Okay, now I have my holes. This is where I'm going to be inserting my needle, okay, in this hole. Okay, I finished putting this 2024 signature in there, and you can see it's very thick, and it was a little bit difficult to do. I had to do it, some of it I almost had to go page by page to get on the needle, but it'll be fine. It's in there nice and securely. But I can show you now maybe how to put in 2023, which is going to go into this row of holes here. Okay, so hopefully this will go a little easier. Okay, first thing, I have to find the center of my signature, which is relatively easy to do. And I need to mark my place for my holes using my template. So I'm going to start going out through the center hole. I'm going to flip the whole way through, leaving the tail. And then I'm going to go out through the center hole of the cover, holding it up to the light so I can see it. And it's right here. There we go, coming out there. There we go. So I'm out through the center. I'm going to go back to the top hole. I'm going to go back in here, just in the cover, pulling it as tight as making sure it's flat. Oops, I got to make sure this is not going to come out. Okay, then I'm going to go back through these signatures. The holes. And there we go, back through the holes. See, that was a little simpler because it's not so thick. Making sure that's nice and tight. And again, I'm going to look on the outside to make sure I see it going there. I'm going to skip this one, and I'm going to go back out through the bottom, making sure that's all lined up. Skip this and go back out this way, keeping it nice and there we go. I'm out through this one. Pull that tight, and then I'm going to go back outside. Again, holding it up to the light so I can see where that hole is. Oops. You know, I'm going to make this hole a little bigger because it's not, I think that's my problem. This hole needs to be a little bit bigger. There we go. There we go. Back up through there. And then I'm going to skip. Then I'm going to come back in here to the center hole again. I'm going to try to keep this sideways so I can slip in past it this way. I don't want to split it. Let me just go in here first. And now back through the signatures. Find the center. And the center. There we go. Okay. And now when I come in, I'm coming up on the opposite side of the center. See, I have this thread, one on each side. And I'm going to make sure that's tight. It's all done. It's nice in the edges. It's nice on the outside. And it's nice and tight here. So let me cut this off. And then I'm going to just tie a double knot. And I'm just going to take this, tuck the string under here. And cut that off. And there we have it. And there we have it. Okay, look at that. It's so nice on the men's spine. And then we have, there's 2023, and here's 2024. I have all three of my books completed now. They're ready to put on my shelf, except for the last one, which, let's look at that one first. 2024, the biggest section, the largest section in the book, and I have my card of the year in the front, and my transits of the moon, which I follow all the time, and I usually have that. Here's more about the moon. Here's my forecast that is in the front of my book. Okay, and then this is my annual perfections. I started doing this a couple years ago, and I really like this, and this is appropriate because I was just now starting. This was last year, coming up to my birthday this year, and here we have in the same book, I switched where my Time Lord was the 12th house. Now, since my birthday, it is now back into my first house. So it was in the 12th house of secrets, ruled by Mercury. And now I'm into my first house again. We're back in the ruled by the moon. Okay, back in Cancer. So this is kind of a neat thing for the rest of 2024 and the first half of 2025. This is going to be. So when I do the next journal, my next 2025 journal, I will put this, a copy of this in the first part of my book, and then I will be moving to the next. I will be progressing around the wheel. Okay, so I have that in there because I really like that. That just gives me a little more information when I'm watching the planets transit houses and things in my horoscope, which I really like to see. Okay, here we have, I've been using the woman runes. I again got into that habit. I was torn about whether I wanted to use them or not, but I really love them because for me, especially the monthly draw, I draw at the beginning of the year and I forecast for the year with those, and it has it's been going along really good. It's a good partnership with my tarot forecast for the year. I find that the themes echo each other, so I find that that's probably really, um, it's really good. So I put that in here. Now, what I have done, you see, this is what made my journal so thick. This was already done in my old bullet journal. So I had to have these, I've cut these pages out and pasted them in onto fresh pages. Okay, and I've done the same with some of these, because the backs, I didn't like the back, and I didn't necessarily like the order. Okay, so those were pasted in. Okay, I have my moon cards, most of my moon cards. I love the idea of putting in different versions from different decks of my card of the year, because they all read in a different way, and that's something that has really been helpful to me. Okay, I include my forecasts, my monthly forecast, and these were things that I kept, these cutouts were things I kept in the back pocket of my other ones, but here I have them some already done. I just transferred them. Okay, but now I want to say, I already had these cut out, so what I did was I put them in. This is where I'm going to start here. This is through July. And I have a place to write. Here's through August. I already have my forecast cards that I took the picture of in January. I already have them, so I have, and they were in the back of my journal. So I have pasted them in here and left space. I already have the wheel, this one already made to glue into, to paste into my bullet journal. I pasted in here instead, so I saved room for it. So there's August, and here's my forecast for September. This is all I'm putting in the remainder of this 2024 journal. I'm going to fill this up through December. And then when I get to the very end of the year, I am going to do my Sacred Days of Yule. And this was again taken from the year before. So I just took the pages out of here, and here I put a note on here to add a new photo. So when I do my forecast for my Sacred Days of Yule at the end of this year, I will just simply add a new copy of the photograph, superimpose that over top of here. And then for all of the days, this is between Yule, December 20th, through Hogmanay, or New Year's Eve, December 31st, and it tells each card you pull for each of those days represents something. Okay. For instance, the winter solstice card tells how to connect to the light within us and without us. It symbolizes the birth of the sun. So whatever that card is, then I'll be able to journal about that in here. And I've left space at the end of the book for journaling on all of those days. So here's day 1, 2, 3, 4, all the way up to 12, day 11, 12, and then another moon card at the end. Okay. So that's why that was so thick. This was a very thick book. The other books, the other two books, relatively smaller, a lot smaller. This is 19 and 20. I just pulled out what I wanted to keep from these books, and that was the card of the year. This was Death card in 19. So all of my things about death, changing, you know, those kind of things. This page was taken completely out of my old journal, and I just put it in here and added a little bit to it. It was partially filled out and partially not. So some of these were transferred from my old journal into this one. So that was handy. And then when I did not have it. But anyway, what I want to say is, I have all the death cards, usually normally about a different death card for each month of the year. And then I also have my year ahead spread that I did for 2019, which each of my cards, and here I did, I used, that looked like the Wildwood Tarot on the outside, the Cat Tarot here, my Goddess Tarot right in the center, and one of my Witches runes that I made. I showed you how I did those years ago, what I did for that. And I have the forecast, and then I showed how these cards showed up for me in the year, okay? Now, why do we care? Why do we care about, why do we care about January, how it came out? This is what I want to talk to you about. I find this very interesting because I think most of us, when we approach these tarot forecasts or rune forecasts or whatever we do, the women runes or whatever it is that we do, or astrological forecasts for the year, we think of it as divination, like, oh, it's going to give us a hint of what's to come. When I got the Tower card, I had a hint that was something going to be kind of gross coming up in the year, which it turned out it was true. And that is true. My devil year, I did see it kind of happening. My Temperance card, I kind of saw that going along with what my life was like at the time. But I want to say, oh, here, wait, I'll show you these in a minute. But I do want to say, the value of this is beyond what you think it is. The true value is in looking back. It's in looking back at how did the Temperance card show up in my life in 2020. I should know that. Patience. Didn't we have to exercise patience in 2020? We all did, right? Okay, so how did it come? How did the Tower card show up and continue to show up for me? I have a whole new respect for the Tower card. I kind of understand it now. It is more valuable to me looking back on how it did show up to me than rather looking forward and trying to consider how it might show up for me, if that makes any sense. I'm not sure if that makes sense or not, but it absolutely shows. And the same thing when I look at my yearly forecast. At the time, okay, January comes and I'm doing some healing, right? I was doing some healing, time for healing in January, because I did have, this was 2019, and I've been going through some stuff. I've been going through some emotional things, and I had a lot of things come up with the cards. But I have to say, this is when it really hit me. In October of 2019, I really had, this was my protection, my responsibility cards. Whether I felt like I was carrying the whole world on my shoulders, and that's exactly how I felt. Exactly how I felt at that time. I was so overwhelmed at the end of 2019. I told you this before. I'm ashamed to say it, to admit it, but I almost welcomed being quarantined in 2020. It gave us an excuse to step away from all these things that were just overwhelming me and get, to know what I really wanted to do with my life, what was important to me in my life and what was not. So looking backwards in divination, if that even makes sense, is such a valuable tool. I don't want you to overlook that. I'm maybe not saying that in the best way. I'm not expressing that in the best way, but I really think that it was something that you could see for yourself if that happened to you, how you expressed it. Okay. How I applied some of these things to my old journal is what I want to show you. Here, I just simply, I had this hard day. It was a hard day, and was at the end of 2019, which really, I put that at the very end of my book. Here I had, what I did here at the end of my book here, I just tore out some of my thoughts from my 2019 journal that I really wanted to say, that I thought were important, and I just sort of collaged them here in the end of the book. I don't know if you can tell, but these are all from different pages, and they're just glued in here. And I really love that because this gives you an idea of where my mind was, rather than dispersed throughout the journal randomly in the middle of all my menu planning and bill paying and pet vaccinations and all those kind of things. When I put them all together, it really painted a picture of where my head was that year. And it ended up with a very heartbreaking post that I wrote, having to do with, I found out in the middle of 2019, a dear friend of mine from my childhood passed away, and rather unexpectedly, at least to me. But I heard about it on Facebook. I read about it on Facebook, somebody posting that, and it was so horrible to find out that way. And it upset me, and it upset his family, because his family was trying to get a hold of Joe and I to tell us, and of course they were understandably going through a lot of trauma themselves, so they didn't get to me right away. And when they found out, that this is how I found out, they were heart sick, that's what had happened. But anyway, that really was 2019 for me. That was the accumulation of it. So when I came into temperance in 2020, I had a lot of healing to do from 2019, and I can see that now. But looking at it in separate books so much, I didn't really see it. I didn't see the connection so much. So that's kind of what I wanted to say. 20, and then here at the end, I want to show you another way to do this is I have actually taken the page, some of the pages, because I wanted the double page. You know how these things show up in a double setup like this. I'll show you one. You know, there's a page, and you get all that when you get the page out, okay? And you might not want all that, but you might want this, but you don't want that, or you don't want one of the pages. But you can still use the signature, is to just take and paste over top. Use it as a background page. Now here I wanted this part about that. But in some of these, you see this is a calendar page, and I just use that as my background page. Oh, and here we are, Naked Gardening Day. So I take some things like that out of the journals that I'm just really in love with, that I want to keep too. So rather than keep that whole journal, now I have those important things in here. Okay, that's what I wanted to say about that. So there you have it. I'm very happy with what I have made to use. I made these. These are going to be very useful tools for me, where they were not useful at all for me. They were causing me a lot of grief. So now I think this is something that I'm really happy to own. The question is, of course, I'm going to right away get to work on my tarot spread journal, because that is something I use those spreads a lot, and I want to keep track of the spreads in the future. I can also look at, when I see my spreads in one place, I can see what I have missing that I might want to put in there. Some other spreads, some other readings that I've done. I know I did some other readings. I have notes other places that I'm going to add to that journal. But what goes, okay, here we have 19 and 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. I've said I'm going to continue in 24. I'm going to continue on looking at my forecast that I had drawn for the year and seeing how that plays out for me for the rest of 2024. But what about 2025? Is it too early to talk about that? I don't think so, because I don't want to see what happened to me in the last 6 years happen to me again. So I have a whole new idea, and I'm going to start on that right now, getting my journal ready for me when the year begins, or before the year begins, and I will tell you why. Because some of the things that I did that I was having trouble I kind of neglected, was at the end of the year, I have the Sacred Days of Yule, which are the 12 days I showed you at the end of 2024. I have in the back here, where each card for each day to represent something. But I also have something that I've been doing for the last 3 or 4 years, and that is the Omen Days. The Omen Days, which I showed you, I pulled them out, I think in the first video I showed you I had them. And I usually put them in the beginning of the journal. I had been putting them at the end of a journal, but really they are for the year to come. And what the Omen Days are, for instance, it is the days from December 26th through January 6th. And each of those days represents a month of the year. So there's 12 days, and each one represents, again, a month of the year. December 26th beginning with January. So I want to have that when I open my 2025 journal. I want to see what January holds for me. And there's some things that go along with that. And I don't know that I've ever done a video on it. I know other people have, but I don't think I particularly have. And mine is a little different take. So I want to maybe show you what I did. But in any case, it's going to be at the beginning of my journal. So anyway, I don't want to build the suspense anymore. I want to show you what I'm going to be using for 2025. Because I think you might be very interested to see this. And that is that. Yes, don't freak out. Do not freak out. It's another, what is this? Another stupid bullet journal, is it? Well, this is what I've been using. This is a lovely size. And by the way, these are 2 different colors. I don't know if you can see that. But this is marketing for you because this is funny. I ordered this one. One is called, this is called Pacific. This is supposed to be ocean, color of ocean. And this is supposed to be colored of Pacific Ocean, which I don't know if you've ever been to the Pacific Ocean, but I have. I live right beside it, and it's not this color at all. It's green. It's kind of green. It's not green. Like the Atlantic is blue, pretty blue. The Pacific Ocean is green. But anyway, I won't quibble. It's still pretty, but they're so different. I just thought it was funny. But why on earth, after all this, you're saying to me, Rebecca, are you mad? Are you crazy? Are you whacked? What is the deal? No, I'm not. Because now, first of all, this has all the features that I love about a journal. And I'm going to open it up. Even though we're a long way off. We are a long way off from, thank goodness, from 2025. But I want to open it because I'm going to organize, if I can, because I want to organize it, start organizing it well in advance. And you've all heard of Christmas in July. I don't know if you have in other countries, but in the United States, everybody knows what Christmas in July is. There's a lot of people that do stuff to get ready for Christmas. They start in July. It's kind of creepy. Because it also means, boy, these are wrapped. They're really wrapped, aren't they? I don't want to, there we go. This is actually a very lovely journal. I like the size of it, for sure. But the reason I wanted this, and I really don't need to open it all up now to show you, but and there's this great pocket in the back that I love so much. Nice deep pockets to put my jury summons, to put my stubs for my opera tickets, like I said before. Anyway, the reason I wanted to get this now is it's what, 250 pages, give or take, a little more, 251 numbered pages. I want to set it up now the way I can use it. I don't want it to be a random bullet journal, which we had. I want to set it up, and I have made a list of the things that I want to include in this journal that have to be included, okay? I need to include my card of the year, which in this case is going to be the sun. So I have to include the sun card, and I want to include up all the different ways to look at and compare the sun card in the different decks. That is a very valuable tool for me, okay? I want to include my yearly forecast. However I set it up, I want that to be here. I want it to be at the very beginning, my omen days, which are, you know, how many pages do I need for that? Okay. I want to include my inner perfections. Of course, there's going to be 2 of those. The one that I carry through from this year and the one that comes new in June. Okay. I want to include my woman runes, which I really liked using. They've been reading so well for me, I want to include those. Okay. I want to include a new moon ritual. I got the idea from Jessica Starr. I do it a little differently than she does, but I love the idea of setting intentions with the new moon and manifesting in harvest, which is what the moon is all about. But I sort of follow I go off on my own way and do that. So I'm going to be setting up pages for that. So when it comes time for the moon, I will know what the moon, where the moon is. I won't have to stop and look it up and try to figure it out. I'm going to have it ahead of time. Okay. And then at the end of the year, I'm going to have room for the sacred days of Yule. Now, why do I care about that now? I care about it now because I'm going to take a pencil, and yes, a pencil. Does anybody still use a pencil anymore? I'm going to take a pencil and I'm going to go in my journal and I'm going to mark out pages. Like for instance, you know, I want to make sure how many pages do I need for each thing? I'm going to determine that, and I'm just going to put the pencil what that is. Okay, maybe this page, this is going to be reserved for blah blah blah, and I'm going to pencil it in. And then when I have time before the event, I'm going to be able to get that page set up for it. Like for instance, if I have look at one of my old journals here, where I did like a tarot forecast for the month. Sometime in January, I have to have pages for these things. First of all, I have to have, I would have this in the beginning. I would have pages, so there's two pages for this. I would have a tarot forecast of some kind, at least 2 pages here. This takes 2 pages. Okay, so I know how many pages certain things take. I know that this page, my Sacred Days of Yule at the end, how many pages that takes. Some of these things I know for sure. I don't have a new moon ritual in here. I can't show you that. I have some on some of these other pages. I don't know, I want to get them out now. But I usually use like 4 pages for my new moon rituals. So those kind of things I am going to pencil in my diary, pencil in my journal, pencil in. And then I will have other room. I'll see how much room I have left. And if I have room left, I will use that for other journaling. I will use that for journaling. Now, something about tarot. I maybe do spreads in here, or specific, not spreads necessarily, but readings. I might do specific readings that go with these different cards or these different. Of course, I'm recording the forecast, the yearly forecast, but any other readings that I do in January that might be relevant, I can journal about them in this book. That way, it's still tarot, it's still a yearbook that matters to me, but it is ready to go, so there's no excuse. And I have these pockets. If something happens that I did a reading and I don't have time to journal about it, I can take a photo of that and I can tuck it back in the pocket until I'm ready to journal about it. And just as long as I have the pencil, I can pencil on the page. I need these 2 pages about it. Then this is for 2025. The whole book is 2025, and it's going to be really a really good book to add to my collection. Okay, I hope that makes sense, and I hope you're not disappointed that I'm going back to. I don't think you're disappointed because I know a lot of you people like these books. These are wonderful. They're made so beautifully. I love the dot grid. They're easy to use. I love the fact that the pages are numbered. I like the little ribbon bookmarks, and I like the pocket, and they're just bound so beautifully together. You just can't improve on some things you can't. I'm not sure if this video was of any use to anybody or interest to anybody. It was a lot of use to me. It was a lot of use to me. It made sense. Finally, out of what I've been doing for 6 years, I knew there was a reason that I was pulling a card of the year. I knew there was a reason I was doing tarot forecasts. I knew there was a reason for some of these things, and recording down all these different tarot spreads and things, but I wasn't able to use it for any purpose. It didn't. After the year went by or the month went by, whatever the case, it just went into oblivion for me. And the last 6 years, I know for me, have been very traumatic in a lot of ways. I think they have been for everybody, each of us in a lot of ways. Especially coming into 2020, and then coming out of 2020, we've all had some adjustments to make in our lives, or that we just have adjusted things in our lives, whether we determined we should or not. It was sort of inevitable for a lot of us. It changed our lives in a lot of ways, and I love that we record these things in our journals. That's very important to me. But I want it to be of use, and by taking out the things that were really, really important to me for the year and the lessons that I learned in that year, which will help me in future years, I wanted to collect, and I did so in my journals, in my new, again, tarot journals. So, thank you so much for watching. If you're interested, I am going to be doing, again, I'll keep you up to date with my tarot spread journal. I will keep you up to date with my journal for 2025. Please don't hate on me for this. And also, I have a really fun, I've been so inspired, you know, I'm very inspired by Natasha at Treasure Books. As I said before, I linked to her channel. I'll link again this time so that if you want to see her. But I have some really good ideas for some future plans from some things I learned on her channel that I might want to use and might want to share here on my own channel. So keep a lookout for that. Keep a lookout for that if you're interested. And thank you so much for watching. As always, I'm Rebecca, and I wish you blessings.